Hi, I'm Jeff with Novaspace, and on today's video, we're going to talk about the difference between electromagnetic interference and jamming as it pertains to satellite communications. As we're discussing these topics, I'll be using our Space Missionaries and Capabilities course to help highlight some of the different topics that we're going to discuss. The reason why we're covering this topic is that early on in my career, I worked a lot with satellite communications. And one trend that I noticed is that these two terms, EMI, electromagnetic interference, and jamming, were often used interchangeably by folks that weren't very familiar with satellite communications or were new to the satellite communications field. So hopefully this video helps shine some light on the differences between EMI and jamming. Without further ado, let's get into the course. So we'll start with electromagnetic interference, also called EMI for short. EMI is an electromagnetic disturbance created on a communications link coming from an external source. These disturbances can range anywhere from causing intermittent outages on a link to completely degrading the link to a point that it cannot be used. EMI can result from both man-made as well as natural occurrences like solar activity. And the most important concept to understand with EMI is that it is benign and unintentional. So, whereas EMI is unintentional, jamming is intentional. And it's intentional because an adversary is selecting a targeted link and deliberately overpowering it with electromagnetic interference. Now, you may ask yourself, how can I tell if that interference or that jamming is intentional? And that's a tricky question and usually requires some advanced troubleshooting. However, two really quick things that you can look for is if you're looking on your spectrum analyzer, which we'll discuss in a second, you can tell if a power level is abnormally high when compared to a traditional SATCOM signal. That's one indicator. Another indicator could be that this interference is following you around as you're switching frequencies and transponders on the satellite. Again, it really takes some advanced troubleshooting to indicate whether or not something is EMI or jamming, but those are just two things that you can look for right off the bat. In satellite communications, uplink jamming is the most common type of jamming. So in satellite communications, you have an uplink and a downlink. The uplink is the link from the ground station to the satellite, and the downlink is the link from the satellite to the end user. And why uplink jamming is a more attractive option for an adversary is because if you overpower that uplink to the satellite, you're interrupting the downlink that is going out to all the user terminals on that satellite link. In order to cause effective uplink jamming, an adversary simply needs to be within the satellite footprint that they're targeting. Now, downlink jamming affects that link that's going from the satellite to the user. And what this means is that an adversary would have to be within that data path of the downlink to affect the user terminal. This poses a few risks for that adversary. Number one, you're more easily targeted by the person that you're jamming. And two, you're not getting the wide area results that you would get with an uplink jamming event. You'll only be affecting that single user potentially. There are several ways to mitigate both EMI and jamming. First up, we have the spectrum analyzer. A spectrum analyzer is a tool that's able to display to that crew that's operating the SATCOM terminal the different characteristics of the signal on an interface. And what this allows crews to see is potential power disturbances on their signal. If you do find yourself to be a victim of EMI or jamming, there are several things that you can do to mitigate those effects on your SATCOM link. First and foremost, if you can do a geolocation of the offending signal, you can simply reach out to the offending party and see if they can correct the issue that is causing EMI on your link. In my experience, the overwhelming majority of EMI events are simply caused because someone overlooked a setting on a SATCOM link. And again, it's as easy as reaching out and asking them to correct it, and then all parties are happy and transmitting data again. Now, if you find that the offender is being unresponsive, there are several other things that you can do. So, first and foremost, you can simply switch frequencies or move to a different transponder on the satellite. You could physically move your receiver outside of the affected area, or you can try to adjust your own signal's power levels to overpower the effects that are being caused by the EMI. So, to kind of summarize what we've talked about, EMI, electromagnetic interference, is unintentional interference that is caused on your satellite link, whereas jamming is the deliberate interference of a SATCOM link. Having this understanding of the difference between EMI and jamming will give you instant credibility when you're talking to subject matter experts regarding SATCOM, and will make you a more effective communicator when you're working on teams that are dealing with SATCOM. If you would like to learn more about this topic in greater detail, please visit novaspaceinc.com and consider enrolling in one of our courses. As always, thank you for joining me on this video, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks. Bye.